everybody. I'm Dr. Gail, and this is Aurora. Thanks for joining us today. Hey, Spirit Watcher Suzanne. Hey, Dream Journey 1. Thanks for joining us today. And Aurora is a ET experiencer. I met her in Red. Listen to me. And Rebecca Hardcastle writes, hey, Mandy May, a coaching class is where I met her. And I know I did an interview with Rebecca Hardcastle, right? Probably about last month, and you can go back and see her on the show if you wanted to find out more about her. Anyway, we're in a coaching class with her. Of course, I have kind of fallen off the wagon. Anyway, so
we do miss you.
Yes, yeah, I've gotten so busy. I went on that Jeff Maher show, and just it's really been really busy since then. So, but anyway, we did meet in that class, and her ET experiences have expanded. My gifts have expanded. A lot of things have benefited from that. And so anyway, we're going to start talking, Aurora, about you. First, we're going to start off as people are coming in. We're going to talk about your background. Hey, it's Teresa. Hey, thanks for joining us. And there's Mandy May, and who else is here? But anyway, we're going to go ahead. There's quite a few of you here already.
That's awesome. Well, thanks for having me back. I had a lot of fun last time you had me on your show. So I'm really glad, to be here. It's really wonderful.
Yeah, Susie kept saying, you got to have her back. You got to have her back.
Oh, that's really sweet. Oh, that's really sweet. Well, I'm glad to be back.
Yeah, and I'm going, yeah, we could do several 1-hour shows with you.
Oh, my goodness. It's funny because when you first had me come on, one of the first things I said was, I don't really have a lot of stories to tell. And then I got going and I was like, oh, my gosh, I really do have a lot. So
you do. It keeps coming on and more and more and more.
Yes, it really does. It's like the more I talk about it, the more I hear about it, the more the stuff, comes to me.
Well, I mean, that's what this is all about, is to normalize these experiences. And if you probably hadn't met me and the other people in the group and know it's okay to talk about, then all the information starts pouring in. Oh, it's okay for her to get this information. It's okay for her to get this information.
Exactly.
So, that's the power in this group, is that we're making it all okay to talk about it.
Yeah, it's basically normalizing all of these experiences. So, that's, I think, very beneficial for everybody. The kind of thing that needs to happen.
Yeah. Hey, Kathleen. Hey, Fine Phoenix. Hey, Teresa. And yes, TGIF, and it's Cinco de Mayo. Everybody needs a margarita in their hand.
Sounds good to me.
Okay. All right. Well, let's talk about your background first before we get into the ET experiences. Let's talk about where you're from, because I think your background is fascinating just in itself.
Yeah. Well, I was born in Romania. And when I was a teenager, my dad ran away for political reasons. He sought political asylum in France, and eventually we joined him. This was back in the days when Romania was communist. And so we moved to France. I lived there for a year, and then we ended up in New Jersey. And after that, I started moving around throughout the United States, and I ended up in Florida, which is where I am now. So one of the things...
Well,
I'm sorry.
And forgive me because I'm going to interrupt you a lot to ask questions.
That's fine. That's fine.
Well, one of the most fascinating things you have said to me, though, is 3 different languages, and English is your third language, and you're so well spoken, much more well spoken than I am. And English is my first language.
I must have a knack for languages because I learned French from scratch. I didn't know any French when I moved to France, and I became fluent in French within the year that we were there. And then when we moved to the United States, I actually learned English in my French class in high school.
Okay.
I did my freshman year in high school in Romania. I did my sophomore year in France, and then I finished high school in the States. But I learned English in my French class.
Wow.
Because I didn't speak a lick of English when I came here. Even though I had classes, I couldn't hold a conversation. And I got picked on. It was, I was a weird girl with the hairy legs from Romania because, we didn't shave over there.
In New Jersey, I wouldn't think that'd be too uncommon.
Oh, and in the area of New Jersey where we were, yeah, it was definitely not a good thing for me to come to.
Yeah.
So that way, but I'm over it now.
And then you've been in Florida forever then. And you
What's
love
that?
and you've been in Florida since when?
Yeah, I've been in Florida since, my gosh, 1997. So we're going on, I guess we're approaching, 20, 25 years,
Yeah. Okay. All
20,
right. Well,
25 years. Yeah, I love it here. Really, really do.
good. Good. Okay. Well, let's get into the ET experiences and just talk about, we can start talking about your awakening and go
Yeah.
into that.
Yeah, well, 2020 was a big year
For both of us.
for me. I've been for a lot of people, I think.
Yeah.
I've been meditating for about 24 years, 25 years, and I periodically go to these meditation retreats, silent meditation retreats, and that's exactly what I did in 2020. Only this time, the retreat was, they kept us all isolated. We did not go together, so I was in my room with my meditation cell, not interrupted by anything. So I was able to go in pretty deep. This was a 10-day meditation retreat, silent retreat. And what ended up happening is during that meditation course, I woke up to the reality that this is, or the truth, I should say, that this is all just a dream. This reality is just, we're asleep and we're having a dream, actually. It's just, and we have forgotten that we've fallen asleep. And I recognized that, and it was fundamentally life. That there were a couple of other experiences that I had that just are a natural side effect of just being, meditating deeply. And I really recommend meditation to everybody who really wants to quiet their minds. And you would see that it really does help with becoming more aware of.
Yeah, you and I come from two
whatever
terms of meditation because you've been doing it for so many years. And my awakening was during meditation, but I'd only been doing it, started March, April, May, June, July, 5 months. And then my came pouring in. And I was just doing the YouTube little 20-minute, 30-minute meditations.
Yeah. Yeah, whatever works for everybody. The kind of meditation that I do doesn't necessarily appeal to everyone.
Well, I think one day you should be leading meditations because you're. I'm in training to a teacher, so I can conduct courses during those 10-day retreats. Okay.
But it really does help if you are in an environment that is conducive to meditation. It makes a world of difference.
Okay.
To do that. And these retreats I shared, I think, with the group, the Exo Consciousness group, these retreats are free. They have this pay it forward.
I'm guessing you're talking about the situation in the area that you're in. Because like when I start meditating, the first thing I have done is my cat jumps on my chest.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And my dog lays beside me.
Yeah. Yeah, it really helps if you're not disturbed. It really does. You can go deeper.
They're going, oh wow, she's getting ready to meditate. It's time for us to get petted.
So you calm down. You feel nice and loving. So they'll be attracted to you. My dog does the same thing.
Yeah.
So, but in any case, when I came home after a couple of weeks being home from that meditation retreat, I was in bed, just going to bed with my husband had already fallen asleep. And I was still meditating. I meditate as I go to sleep. And all of a sudden, it was really strange what happened. I had never experienced anything like that and nothing like that since then. I was still in my bedroom, so I could see my surroundings. But at the same time, this other image was superimposed over my bedroom. It's almost like back in the day, when you had the slides, the projector slides, if you put two slides on top of each other, you can see both of them at the same time. So that's what it looked like. And this image that superimposed over my bedroom was of me lying down, paralyzed on some sort of examination table with these three little grays, about 4 foot tall, just a typical description of, the little grays with instruments, whatever they had. They were poking and prodding at me. And on my other side, on my right, was this taller ET that was about, maybe 5 feet tall and was communicating with me telepathically. You don't have to worry, you can calm down. We're not trying to hurt you. He kept saying that over and over and over again. We're not trying to hurt you. Well, needless to say, I was absolutely terrified. I had no idea what was going on, having this overlap of realities, whatever that was, number one. Number two, I was paralyzed. I couldn't move. And interestingly enough, all of those probes that the ETs were working on, I could feel them in my body, but I couldn't, there was no pain. Mm-hmm. So it was interesting. It felt as if they weren't really working on my physical body. I'm actually wondering now if they were working on my astral body.
Yeah, or your soul body.
Yeah, and I just happened to be conscious for that. But I distinctly remember the one on my left, how much compassion he had, and he tried, to just calm me down, and I really wouldn't have any of it. And at first, I thought that it was a gray, and recently, I looked at a picture that I drew of him. I remember thinking, I just can't get the face to be triangular enough.
Can you show us that picture?
It's a pencil picture with this big. He's got this big head, and he's got these hands. They're folded. He had his hands folded almost like to his chest as he was talking to me. And at the time, I didn't know anything about ETs or mantids or nothing. I had no frame of reference. So I don't know if it really was a gray or if it actually was the mantis being that I eventually got to know much, much better. But in any case, while this is going on, I am freaking out. And I decided, I don't care what you're doing to me. I just don't want to know about it. That was, it's interesting that I didn't want them to stop. On some level, I wanted them to continue. I just didn't want to know about it because I couldn't
comprehend it.
The terror was very uncomfortable.
Right. You probably knew that they were doing whatever they were doing was benefiting you.
Yeah.
But I think what's his name? Tim on Gaia, when he's being interviewed, he talks about when he meets the Greys, that fear and terror comes in your body, even though your mind is trying to say it's okay, but your body is reacting to them. And that you have that flight, syndrome or fear of flight and fight or flight syndrome. And he's saying, but your mind, and you have to learn how to get used to that energy to calm yourself down to be able to really communicate. But he goes really into detail about,
he does.
Reacts about that. Yeah. And it sounds like your reaction was the same.
Yeah. That's exactly what happened. It was the first time and I was very startled. And so I asked him, I told him, I don't want to remember any of this. I don't want to know what's going on. And sure enough, it's like the image of that room was fading away. And, my bedroom was becoming more and more noticeable. And as the image was fading away, my terror was subsiding. So last moment, I say, well, wait a minute. Maybe I can handle this. And sure enough, it came back full-fledged, and I was done. That was it. The terror hit the roof again, and so it just vanished. It disappeared. Mm-hmm. But what was interesting was, as soon as I was able to sit up, I sat up in my bed, and I noticed outside my window there were these lights blinking. Now I live on the second story of a condo. And my balcony railing, I could see, that the lights were above the rail of my balcony. So down in the street, if I had been an emergency vehicle, it's impossible. It could not have been that high up in the air for me to see the lights. Plus, it was blinking red and yellow and blue and green lights. And no emergency vehicle has green lights, blinking green lights.
Yeah.
So I'm watching this and I don't know what to make of it. And so I turned to my husband, who's snoring through this whole thing. And I tried to wake him up. Honey, there's some weird lights outside our bedroom. And as soon as I finished that phrase, they disappeared, vanished, just stopped. And of course, he never did wake up. And I got up and I went to look outside my window because the curtains were drawn. So I could see these lights through the curtains. And I opened the curtain and I looked in the street fully expecting to see an emergency vehicle, some police car or an ambulance parked there. And the street was empty. Yeah. And, we live close enough to the ground where I can hear the traffic, especially in the middle of the night. There was nothing else going on. Our neighborhood is very, very quiet. So I didn't actually see, a spaceship per se, a craft per se, but those lights, I don't have any other explanation.
Right.
for what that was.
They 3 grays came and visited me. No, wait a minute. It was 2 grays and a tall white, I think it was. That came and visited me, and the spaceship was in the back. They were white lights, and it's just like you said. As soon as I got to go look at it, they were gone.
Yeah. It's interesting, and one of the things that I struggled with when I started having these experiences was thinking that I'm making this up, or I'm going crazy, or I am interpreting things, I'm twisting things in a different way, that what I'm seeing, it could be explained away by some, usual, typical explanation, mundane explanation.
You didn't get brain tumor, though, did you? Because I kept saying I have a brain tumor, I need an MRI.
Oh, I like that. That's pretty cool. But, I found that I was making myself miserable with this doubt. And so I decided instead, I'm just going to go with it. If it's exciting and I get excited and I'm happy about thinking that, oh my gosh, a UFO visited me, or I had this encounter with these ETs, then I'm going to stick with that story. And as soon as I made that decision, more and more things started happening. And I became aware as I opened up to the possibility of my reality not being what I thought it had been for 50 years.
Right. It took me 6 months after that to go, okay, if I do have a brain tumor, so be it. Let me go out this way. This is great.
Yeah. If you're happy, what difference does it make? That's kind of how I look at it. Whatever works, right?
Yeah. But I don't have a brain tumor. I've had an MRI since then.
Well, good for you. I'm glad. Yes. So you're just happy naturally. That's even better.
There you go. Well, go ahead. Tell us your next experience.
So there have been several experiences that happened during meditation, and I'm sure they happen the rest of the time too. It's just that when I'm meditating, I am much more aware of them. The following year, I went to another one of these retreats, silent retreats. And what happened at that point was during one meditation, I felt like somebody was downloading the entire contents of their computer into my head. And I could tell that it was information, but I couldn't tell you what it was. Mm-hmm. Interestingly enough, after I came home from that retreat, a couple of weeks afterwards, I realized I started to have telekinesis skills. Mm-hmm. It was really interesting. And there are people on YouTube who are much more talented, I guess is the right expression, with, what they do with their telekinesis. So I'm not trying to develop that ability, as a party trick, although it's fun to roll a straw down the table.
I would love to see that party trick.
Maybe I'll show you when we do the exoconsciousness course, because I don't want to move my computer to a table. I'll show all of you guys if you want to see.
Yeah, I think everybody likes it.
Spectacular.
If everybody wanted to see that.
If you see it in person, it makes a much bigger difference, because I remember trying. It's like I knew how to do it. I remembered how to do it. It's just it was a matter of doing it in this form, with this body. It was like learning how to walk again with a prosthetic leg. I knew how to walk before. I lost my leg. So now I have to learn how to walk again with a prosthetic leg. So that's how I feel in this body with a lot of these abilities that are developing, is that I've always known how to do that. Mm-hmm. It's just how do I do it in this form?
Exactly. Because in fact, when you're talking about the telekinesis, I was looking over at my television the other day and I'm going, there's the remote. I know I can move that remote and bring it to my hand. Yeah. But how do I do that? But I know I can do it. I'm just not sure how.
Yeah, and it literally came to me. It's like the same way that you move an arm without thinking about it. It's like a state of being of I'm moving my arm. It's the same thing. Whatever that object is like just another extension of you, really. Right. But like what I was saying earlier is I showed my son. It took me a long time to finally make it work, with this body. And I showed it to my 13-year-old son, and he did the hand gesture that I showed him, and for him, it moved right away. Wow. Yeah, I was like, it took me so long to figure it out. And I really do believe that seeing someone else, perform some of these skills, which everybody has the ability to do.
Yeah,
it's just that they're dormant. We haven't been taught as children to develop these skills, because we would be able to have them if we were taught to develop them in childhood. I think when you see other people do it live, it reminds you of what you can do. Seeing it on a screen, is okay in and of itself. It's just that we're so used to watching a screen, and what we're looking at is either CGI or whatever. It's not real. But in any case, so I developed these skills, telekinesis skills, and short while after that, again, I was at the meditation center. I think it was just the weekend that I was there.
Another meditation place. I think everybody's going to want to go to that meditation center.
They want to hear about the meditation center?
No, yeah, we probably do want to hear about the meditation center. But I say this is the same one because everybody's going to want to go to it.
It's the same one. There's one in Georgia, in Jessup.
Okay, and there's one in Georgia and there's one in Florida. Is there only one in Florida?
No. The one that I'm speaking about is in Georgia. It's in Jessup.
Okay. Jessup.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And
if you Google that, you'll find it.
And you go in there in this meditation place, and you don't talk, and you go in the isolation room for hours.
Yes, they have. Now, I've been meditating for a long time, so I can, what I do is much more intense than I did when I first started. Okay. But you have meditation periods about an hour long, and with breaks in between if you need them. And you don't speak with any of the other people who are there except for the teacher and the manager. Okay. So people don't get together and have conversations about their experiences, because that's distracting.
Yeah.
So when the mouth stops talking, the mind eventually stops talking. So the thoughts subside, everything becomes much more quiet, and you just become more aware of some of the subtle things that are happening in your mind and in your body. So it's very, very beneficial for that. The purpose of this meditation technique is to decondition the mind.
Okay.
Ultimately, what happens is people no longer react with anger or negativity. Mm-hmm. People begin to respond.
Okay.
Which is a big difference. Respond with kindness and compassion as opposed to reacting with anger and hatred.
Right.
But, that's what I want to do. That's why I picked this meditation technique, is because I do want to decondition my mind. But that may not be everybody else's goal.
What is that technique called?
It's called Vipassana.
How do you spell that?
I'm going to write it down and spell it for you. Vipassana.
Okay.
And this was taught by the Buddha back in the day. This was the technique that he practiced. So at this particular time that I was at the meditation center, again, I get another download. This one came from the mantis being. The mantis being, I think, he comes and he goes, but lately we've been getting to know each other much, much better. This time it was symbols. All of these symbols just poured into my head. I tried to, write them down. I really couldn't. Experience was very interesting because it felt as if the symbols were wrapped into nanites, but it wasn't artificial intelligence. It was just the equivalent of that energetically. They were wrapped in these little energetic bubbles that went to the places in my business where they were supposed to go. Mm-hmm. It was really, really interesting. They had a purpose. As soon as they entered through the top of my head, they went exactly to the place where they were supposed to be. And I realized when I came back from that retreat that my telekinesis skills are. And so I started working with.
Can you say that one more time? You broke up a little bit. Your telekinesis.
It was my telekinesis skills were supposed to be used for healing.
Oh, okay.
And at first I started, just doing my body, and I started, basically just moving energy up and down my body in the way that actually felt like I was releasing tension. Mm-hmm. And I became aware of this Arcturian this Arcturian guy who taught me to relax and allow the energy to manifest itself, the gestures, the movement, everything that goes with it, to just manifest itself, to come through my body. And for a while there, I mean, I've only done this, with my family members. It's like, I have no intention of opening a clinic or anything like that. But what happens is when I do this, or at least that's what used to happen, it doesn't happen anymore because I'm much more self-confident now, is we kind of overlap. It's almost like our energy bodies are linked with one another. The center is what we have in common.
Now, this is the Arcturian, right?
Yeah, this is the Arcturian.
I find that Arcturians are the ones that more do that. It's almost like the Mantis beings are the ones of the delivery of the messages.
Yeah, it's really interesting. So, because he showed me how to do this, Arcturian Reiki. Now, I don't know anything about Reiki at all. I've never had any interest, so this just sort of developed by itself, and I just let it happen. I just kind of let it flow and do what it's meant to do. And my family really benefits. In fact, what I've started doing is the Arcturian did tell me that eventually, I will have the self-confidence to do this all by myself. He made it very clear that he was not there to take over, that he was just sort of teaching me the ropes. But now what I do is I don't have to have the person in the room anymore.
Right.
I just line up some stones that represent the chakras for that particular person. And then I do what I do with those stones. And those stones, really, they're just like a permission slip. I like how Bashar calls everything a permission slip, to basically make it more real for me that the person is there to help me focus on that person's particular energy.
Right.
And so
I use stones a lot like that.
Yeah. It really, what's interesting is I did this yesterday for my husband. He was at work and I was at home. And there was such a marked difference in him when he came home from work than usually. He wasn't stressed out. I asked him, he said, wow, I had a really good day. And he was calm. It usually takes him some time to decompress when he comes home from work. But yesterday he didn't do that. So I know it's working. If nothing else, the compassionate love that I experience towards that person, whoever it is that I'm working on, that in and of itself is helpful.
Right.
So, and that's been proven that prayer and things of that nature actually do work. So, I'm gonna keep doing that because it feels amazing. It feels like that is my job here. That is one of the things that I'm supposed to do. And it's not that I'm supposed to go out and, heal the entire world, but the whole idea of moving this energy around in such a way that it becomes balanced and positive.
I don't think everybody has to go out and heal the whole world. I think just your family and friends, that's changing their lives. That's enough.
Yeah.
You have to change the lives of the whole world.
Right.
That in itself is plenty.
Yeah, at the physical level, I can see that with my family, but at the spiritual level, at a higher level, what I am learning to do, with my body, I am finding that I can move that energy around without using my hands inside my own person.
Yeah.
And so I've learned how to move it around in such a way that it creates these very beautiful and positive states of being, a sense of rapture, of connectedness to the universe, of sympathetic joy and compassion for all beings. So when I meditate, there is a period of time at the end of my meditation when I get into this state of being and I plug it into the collective consciousness of humanity, and then I expand it out into the universe. So, that's another thing that my understanding is I'm supposed to be doing. And it's not, and I'm not saying I'm supposed to be doing as if that's like work or it's something that I'm obligated to do. It's one of the reasons why I'm here.
Yeah.
Is,
your purpose.
Exactly. Yeah. we all have jobs. I think a lot of us do. I think from on the spiritual side, and so it's nice to be able to be aware of that aspect, of my being. That there's other jobs that I'm doing, and that's very, very rewarding.
Yeah.
And speaking of jobs,
well, I was going to say yes. Let's get to You
oh my goodness.
Found out you're doing.
Yeah. So this information has basically developed over time. My understanding of this has been developing over time. And I have 3 different beings who have helped me kind of, put this together in a way that I can understand it. I have Cetus is a Pleiadian. He's my buddy. He's been around. He's very relatable and incredibly funny. Then I have the Mantis being. I'm not sure what his name is, and also the Arcturian being. Names come and go, and they don't seem to matter to these guys. So
no, they don't. In fact, a lot of them will say, "Just give me a human name you can't pronounce."
Yeah.
Or Earth name. They say Earth name. Give me an Earth name.
Right, and I've actually done that with another being. She told me this was an Essassani being, one of Bashar's civilization. She told me, because I asked her name, and she said she doesn't have a name, that they go by frequency. And what she said was to make a list of or think of objects or things in my reality that remind me of her, that are like similar to her vibration. So I named her Opal because she was translucent and, just a whole feel about her, very airy, very light. It totally fitted her.
It fits her, yeah.
So, that's what I decided to call her. But in any case, my night job.
You could name them all stones.
What's that?
I said you could name them all different stones.
Yeah, that's true.
Like the Arcturian could be whatever.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it's fun to use your imagination.
Yeah.
Some of them do come forward and they say their name. Like Cetus, I had that name in my head for 3 days until I finally became aware of him being there.
That would make sense because it's a Pleiadian, so that would make sense.
Yeah.
The name. And the Arcturians, most of the time, well, not all the time, they give you an Earth name also, but they do come forward and give you names sometimes. The Mantis being, well, I actually have met 2, and they did give me a name, but they were Earth names too.
Yeah. So I used to stress out about it. If I don't have a name for this and it's not real, and I'm not stressed out about it anymore. It's like it is what it is.
Yeah.
So as far as my night job goes, I actually came to discover this as I was practicing a meditation exercise that I saw on YouTube that was done by that lady who teaches QHHT. What's her name? I can't think of her name right now. The original.
Y'all. What's her name? She's passed away.
Yeah. I can't think of her name. Anyway, if somebody can think of her name, because it's going to drive me crazy now for the rest of the day.
Yeah. Somebody will put it in the chat.
Yeah. Anyway, so she was she was doing a meditation thing with her audience, and it was about going up some stairs and into the fog.
Dolores Cannon.
Dolores Cannon. Thank you,
Stephen.
Yeah. And so you get to the top of these stairs, and it's foggy, and then the fog starts to lift, and there's 3 doors, and you get to pick a door that you want to go through. So I went through one of these doors, and as soon as I opened the door, I basically was in another world. And this was a really vivid experience. Not quite as vivid as this reality, because I really wasn't that deep in meditation, but it was very vivid, a lot of detail. And so the world that I opened up to eventually became, or turned out it was the job that I have at night in my astral body. I actually board this, it's like a converted private jet. You know, those private jets that they've put, I guess, some kind of engine that can take it, so it can fly into space. Mm-hmm. It feels like this is happening a little bit in the future, but I'm not sure. It just has this really futuristic thing about it. So, I go to this airport and I board this shuttle, and there's an AI that the airport itself has its own intelligence, and it communicates with these shuttles. And so I board this shuttle with a few other people, and we travel to this humongous spaceship. out in space. And, Athena, that name keeps coming back. It keeps coming back.
It is the Athena that you're going to.
Yeah, it feels right. And so what's really interesting about it is that I get there, there's like this huge opening in the ship where, the smaller shuttles and ships will dock. So I get off my shuttle and then I get on something like a personal transportation.
Stephen's asking, is that a rocket that you were boarding?
It's not a rocket, no.
Okay.
The way that I see it, and it's long, we're talking miles. I can't really see the end of it because I get off in the quarter half of it, let's say. It's really, really huge. 100,000 people on it. We're talking.
No. He's talking about the shuttle part. Was that a rocket?
Oh, the shuttle. No, it's not a rocket. It's got two engines in the back, and they're blue.
Yeah. Okay.
But it doesn't launch like a rocket. What it does is it actually lifts up off the ground, and then it takes off.
Okay.
That's how. So we don't have runways anymore in that particular space. There are no runways. They pour up the asphalt in the airports, and now there's grass and these circles where the things land. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
In any case, so I board this like personal transportation pod, and it really looks like an escape pod, I guess, because it's really small. There's only one chair in there, and this thing takes me to where I'm supposed to go.
First, I'm going to stop you there, and okay, so you get into this space jet, whatever that is. You take off straight up. You go to the Athena.
Yep.
Where is it that you enter into the Athena?
Well, the space dock on the ship itself, that's where the shuttle pulls in and everybody gets off. And the other thing I forgot to mention is that before we get on the shuttle, when we leave home, we put on these smart suits. That's the only way that I can describe it. It's got its own AI. It monitors vitals. It monitors everything that goes on in your body. And it also helps to maintain a balance in your frequency, in your energy, so that you don't fluctuate, because us humans have a tendency to fluctuate quite a bit between negative and positive. We don't realize how much we actually fluctuate.
Oh, I found out when I was learning how to fly a spaceship. I made a lot of mistakes, and I kept going, you do know I'm human.
Yeah. So our bodies need, even our astral bodies need to be balanced. Otherwise, we pop in and out of where we go. So if we want to be there and be present, we actually do need something to sort of level off our vibration, our frequency. So I get into this I get off the shuttle. I walk to the transportation pod. They're all lined up. It's like if you can picture the bar stools at a bar. That's okay. They're lined up just like that, and just like these little egg-shaped things that are about as tall as a person, but you don't lie down. You sit in them. At least that's how I perceived it. And this thing takes me out of the space dock on the outside of the ship and moves towards the front where I'm supposed to be, and then it enters this airlock where it fits perfectly in the airlock. It just joins with it. It doesn't go inside the ship. It just joins with it. And I get out, and while I'm in this airlock, you know how astronauts, they do the pressurizing thing? Mm-hmm. It's a similar idea, but what it does, it is aligns my energy, my frequency to that of the ship. And also in that process, also because of the vibration being what it is, it also destroys parasites that you may bring with you, or germs or whatever. So you don't
have to take a shower then.
Yeah, exactly. It's like you take an energetic shower, and you are, in tune with the frequency of the ship. And it takes a few minutes until that happens. But it's not a painful process. It feels so
common thing for people entering the spaceship is they have to take a shower before they can go on the spaceship. Especially humans.
Yeah. So after, I feel better afterwards. It's almost like I feel lighter and I feel healthier. So, I walk in and there are, oh my gosh, corridors with all these different rooms. The one that I go into is very close to where I get off my pod. So that way you don't have to walk, up and down those long corridors. And there is this room where I go in and it's round. It's very white. There are a lot of really colorful lights on surfaces. And there is a screen. Now, it looks like a window because you can see Earth, but it's not a window. It's like a holographic rendering of a specific perspective of Earth. So the ship is not pointing in that direction. If there was a window there, it wouldn't be pointing towards Earth. This is just like a hologram.
Yeah.
So that we can, there's something I think they're doing it for comfort.
Maybe it was comforting to you.
Exactly. Exactly. That's exactly what just came to me, because that way, I can see home and it's more comforting. But I work with an Arcturian and I don't take this headset with me down to the surface, but I do have this some device kind of looks like a communication device. It's not earphones. It's just some sort of headset that fits on my head that actually helps to amplify psionic abilities, telepathic communication, so that I can understand him better and he can understand me better. Because he only communicates telepathically. He no longer speaks.
Right.
And that's how we work together, how he teaches me what to do. And what the two of us are doing is we are actually helping to stabilize the frequency of the planet.
Of Earth or what?
Earth, yeah, of planet Earth, because what's happening right now is it literally, I have this image of a cell that's splitting in two. Timelines are separating. The bundle of timelines is starting to come apart and different bundles are forming. And so it's a pretty difficult process for living things to go through and for the planet. So, we do this so that people don't die of ascension flu.
Right. And I appreciate that because there's so many of us who are having ascension symptoms.
Yes, that's what that's from. Actually, a lot of that is what it's from, because the timelines it's separating. Everything is destabilizing in a sense so that it can come back together in a different way and go in different directions. So in general, the big picture, that is what we do, is sort of maintain these energies and these frequencies at a more constant level. Because the planet can tear itself apart. Some of the larger earthquakes that you see happen because of this. The whole pole shifting thing plays a role in that. It's just that the solar flares play a role. In fact, the solar flares, my understanding is that they actually help because they do destabilize the Earth's magnetic field. And it's easier for it to come apart, in a sense. It's the idea of basically together in a shell, being, sort of being able to be more flexible so that it can split into, whatever, I guess, realities or timelines is going to split in. Some of these concepts that me put into words, because he doesn't communicate in words. He communicates in ideas and in states of being.
And also pictures. Does he give you pictures?
Yes, and pictures. And some of the pictures that he has a different frame of reference than I do, because he's an Arcturian who's way far advanced and more advanced in technology. So my ability to translate into my own frame of reference some of the things that he tells me, I know I get it. It's not it's as accurate as I can make it based on my own experience. And he's actually very sweet about it. I asked him one day what he's getting out of teaching me all this stuff, because he's very, very loving and very accepting. And I mean, it's just wonderful to be around him.
And they're very patient with us.
Very patient. Oh my gosh. I asked him what he was getting out of it, because it didn't seem to me like he really was. And he said something along the lines of, I can't imagine how rewarding it is for him to watch me learn and change and grow. And I was blown away. In a way, I can relate to that because I was a teacher for a number of years, and I understand the joy of watching your students learn, and be successful. But what he communicated to me was so much more intense and profound and deeper than anything I ever felt for any of my students.
Right.
And the other thing that he's doing, he asked me if I wanted to teach him something. And I said, sure, I can teach you something. And he said he wanted to learn how to pronounce my name. Now, mind you, he doesn't speak anymore. Right. He has, the ability to move air through his nasal cavity. There's, his throat. I mean, it's not the same anatomy that we have, but there is an empty space, okay, that he can move air through, and he can change the shape of his mouth, and he can make sounds, not like we do with the vocal cord, more like, pushing out a sound and something, some kind of a letter or something, or some phoneme comes out as a result. So he's trying to pronounce Aurora, which is difficult for a lot of people to pronounce in English.
Yeah.
There's a lot of vowels. So, and the R is very difficult because you need the tongue to, okay. So I asked him, it's comical as heck.
It's like we can't pronounce their names.
Right. But the fact that he actually wanted to pronounce my name in the way that other people pronounce my name, because that's how I'm used to being related to. Mm-hmm. The love that came with that, and the happiness that he communicated, that I am so excited to be learning how to say your name, because I don't know how to speak. They've outgrown all of that. And to have the opportunity to go back to something that he hasn't experienced in, I don't know, tens of thousands of years. And when he told me that, when he communicated that with me, I actually started crying. The amount of unconditional love and compassion that these guys put out is mind-blowing.
Yeah. In fact, our spaceship, their spaceship is my favorite one to be on. I mean, I love the Athena, but they have a spaceship, and to go on that whole spaceship feels like that.
Yeah, it's really pretty incredible. I love being there.
Yeah.
And I had one lucid dream where I remember being brought back. And I drew one of the drawings that I sent you. It was in this valley with these mountains in the background. And there's this, the shuttle. I'm not that great of an artist, but the shuttle, as I imagined it, was just lifting off. They had just finished they just dropped me off. And there's 3 stars or white lights in the distance, and it's a spaceship. They're not stars, it's a spaceship. And in my dream, I'm pointing to them, and I'm going, I see it, it's a spaceship. And I'm like extremely excited.
Yeah.
And I don't want to fall back asleep, but they do this. It's like, I can't help it. I cannot remain lucid. They do something where they put me to sleep.
Yeah.
Like, boom, all of a sudden, there's nothing I can do about it. I'm just gone. And I remember trying to fight it, and I couldn't, because I wanted to stay. I wanted to stay longer. And it's not that I'm not supposed to, but it's not healthy for me to not be in this.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. It's very important for me to stay grounded. So every now and again, I get a glimpse, but it's nowhere near the experiences that you have, Gail. Oh, but still, I'm still grateful for what I get.
Yeah, my gosh, there's a great experience you're having. But we're going to bring you back, Aurora, probably to do some look at your pictures and things.
Oh, sure.
But we got about 10 minutes, and we have some questions from people. Sure. So are you ready to answer some of those?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay. All right. Go ahead, Susie. Let's bring our questions up. Hey, Sharon.
Ascension symptoms. Oh, my goodness. Let's see. The way that I experience it is fatigue, lightheadedness, a headache, either in the front of my head or the top of my head or both. Tremors, sometimes nausea, vibrations, and sense of, I feel like I'm a garden hose hooked up to a fire hydrant, and there's like all this energy is trying to pour through me, and I just can't handle it. There's that.
Ringing in the ears is a big one.
Ringing in the ears, that's a big one too. That's another one. That's right. Let me see.
I get that from a lot of people, and the ringing in the ears. A lot of times we're getting downloads at that time. Like
right. And you know it's not tinnitus because it doesn't last.
It cranks up, goes away.
Exactly. And it alternates. It's in different ears. It's not the same ear every time.
Most of the time mine's in my left ear when I'm getting information. Both ears go when I'm going on a mission. So I know I can tune into all. It took me a long time, but I know what they. Okay, what am I getting now? Oh, we're going. Okay, so I know my tunes.
Yeah. I recognize that I'm getting downloads when that happens.
Yeah,
and so I just relax into it and leave it be. But yeah, it almost feels like the flu. I think one of they call it ascension flu.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
yeah. But a lot of people think they're sick and they go to the doctor and the doctor doesn't find anything wrong with them. And I wonder how many people who are complaining or believe they have fibromyalgia or have been diagnosed with fibromyalgia actually have the ascension flu and they don't realize it.
I think there's a lot of that, especially somebody who is ascending and probably who's going to be a leader, with their gifts. I think they're the ones that would be, especially the ones that might be diagnosed with fibromyalgia or some kind of autoimmune disease. Mm-hmm. I think they're getting so much information. Yeah, I think that those people are experiencing ascension symptoms. But okay, I hope that helps, Sharon. All right, next.
Did you say the pod gave you the impression you were sitting? Also, were you able to control its speed and direction by thought? No, the thing was programmed to go where it would go. I would not be able to find my way around that ship. There would be no way. The thing is so huge, I wouldn't know what level to go to.
I know, when people are asking me if they're working on the Athena, and I go to these spaceships and look for the people and see, and that spaceship is so large. Like when I go to the Astro Medical One looking for people, it's not as vast and I can find them pretty quickly, but the Athena, it takes me a while to find somebody there. I'm trying to hook in their imagery and find out where they could be. But that's a massive spaceship.
The whole sensation from the moment I leave the surface of Earth up to the point I get to my, get out of the pod, I feel like I am none of it is under my control. I feel like I am being carried and I feel very safe. I don't feel like I'm out of control. I'm actually cared for and I'm being taken to where, I'm supposed to be. And the thing gave me the impression that I was sitting. That's how I perceived it. But that doesn't necessarily mean that's what's happening. It's just, like I said, I can only use my current frame of reference for, what's going on. And I'm familiar with sitting down in my car to be transported someplace.
Right.
So
well, I'm going to give you another frame of reference.
Yeah. Great.
You're talking about your astral traveling. What I find out is you astral travel to go explore everything. And it's just a kind of a see-through body. You're exploring, looking. But when you're going to work like you are, that's actually your soul or your light body that's working. Oh. That's what I found. Because whenever I'm out there exploring and having fun, I go out to the astral plane to meet my dog that passed away, and we have a good time out there. And then you go look at the moon and stars. And also when I'm remote viewing, that's my astral body form. But when I'm working, like when I'm going up on the spaceships and actually working, that is my soul, my light body, and it takes on using my same form as Earth, but not necessarily if I'm going to a different planet. I transfer into a different body that they're familiar with. Like I could change into a whale or whatever makes them comfortable. So that's your soul, your light body traveling.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll have to remember that and plug that in and see how that changes that whole.
And just see if that fits, because I'm not sure. There's a lot of people who have described it, because even when I said it to Rebecca, she's going, "Let me write all that down," and I'm going, "Yeah." And then she says, "You better have that in your book." And I went, "Well, maybe my second book. The first book,
Yeah.
Okay, so do we have another question? Hey,
Have you
wait.
seen the bridge? No, I have not seen the bridge. At least, let's put it this way. I don't remember seeing the bridge.
Yeah, White Dragon works. He's on the military side on that same spaceship. When we go to traumas, or when they go now, as soon as well, he's not there either. White Dragon's moved on to an ambassadorship role, but it's a medical and military. And when we go to traumas, the spaceship splits, and the military goes first, and they get the people and they send it to the medical side. So it's
I'm on the medical side of it.
Yeah, you're on the medical side, and White Dragon is on the military side, and Lucy's in charge of it all now.
Wow. Well, she runs a tight ship, because I get the impression that, it's not a good idea to just go roaming the hallways.
Yeah.
Just for grins.
The hallways are fun, because that's where I find out that there's a whole room. People were asking me if they drank on the spaceship. And I'm going, well, I don't know. Let me go walk down here. And sure enough, there was a room where they were just partying down. They were drinking. And I didn't even know what species that was. But I said, I'm not going in there. Just let them have their fun. And anyway.
Yeah, okay. No, I'm very task oriented.
Okay.
How memory from the time on Athena. What I have brought up here is pretty much all the details that I can remember right now. What happens during meditation states is more details will come to the surface. There are things that I actually can't think of when I am, in this, at least this level of consciousness where I'm actually talking to somebody. But when I go into meditation, a whole lot more things actually start coming up that I have always known, that I used to know previously, but I actually don't remember them as I'm sitting here in front of my computer.
Right.
So,
do you write things down?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I have a bunch of journals that I write stuff in, and then I go back and I read them. And what's interesting is if it was not written in my own handwriting, I would think that somebody else wrote it, because I don't remember.
Same here, especially in the beginning, I was like that. Now, it used to be meditation, and then it came to my line between 3D and 5D. So then, I could be on the spaceship right now looking around and seeing things, and it's just I don't have that.
Yeah. Now, one thing that I do want to mention, because we only have a couple of moments left, and I think that this is important. This was the case for me, and I don't think that I'm projecting this. I think I'm speaking for a lot of people. We are taught that if something doesn't feel as real as the things that we can touch and knock on, that it's not real, that we should dismiss it. It doesn't exist. It's your imagination. It's irrelevant. Completely discarded. And I'm telling you that that is not the case. I am actually learning that there are different realities that are just as valid as this reality, that I can go to only with my mind, or only with my astral body, or only with my soul, like Gail was saying. It's like we have these different layers to us, like the physical body, the energy body, the light body, and so on. And they're almost like different suits for different environments. Mm-hmm. All of those environments are just as real as this is. And so I don't have complete memories of my time on Athena, but that doesn't mean that I haven't done more than I am remembering. And I have come to the point where I believe that there's so much more to that experience. And just because I don't remember it, that does not invalidate it. Just because nobody else experienced it with me, that does not invalidate it.
Yeah, I can't wait for you when you go to the lounge and see and experience that. I can't wait for that. It'll come.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, all right, everybody. Thanks, Aurora. You're so interesting. And next time, we definitely going to bring you back on, because we didn't even get to see your pictures of all the beings.
Oh, that would be wonderful. That would be wonderful.
The next show, everybody, will be on the 9th at 1 p.m. That'll be Diana Bowles. I believe that's a Tuesday. And that'll be all about aliens and astrology. And then on the 10th, we'll be doing, at 1 o'clock Pacific time, we'll be doing the Solaris Healing Center. So come join us. And thanks, Aurora. Thanks, everybody, for joining us today. And we will see you next week. and this is for entertainment purposes only. Thanks, Susie. Thanks for everything. All
Well,
right.
thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
We'll see you next time.
Okay. All right. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.